Shem is as short for Seamus as Jem is jokey for Jacob. A few toughnecks are still get at the ball who pretend that aboriginally he was of respectable stemming. He was an outlex between the lines of Ragana, Blaubarb and Horrild Hairwire, and an in-law to Capt the On and Rev Mr. Beardwood. The trope blog was among his most distant connections. But every honest-to-goodness man in the land of the space of today knows that his life will not stand being written about in black and white. Putting truth and untruth together, a shot may be made at what this hybrid actually was like to look at. Shem's bodily get-up, it seems, included an adze of a skull, an 8 of a lark's eye, the roll of a nose, one numb arm up a sleeve, 42 hairs off his uncrown, 18 to his mock lip, a trio of barbels from his megageg chin, Soman's son, the wrong shoulder higher than the right, all ears, an artificial tongue with a natural curl, not a foot to stand on, a handful of thumbs, a blind stomach, a deaf heart, a loose liver, 2/5 of 2 buttocks, 1 Glitzstein avoid Dubwadi, for him, a man root of all evil, a salmon kelp's thin skin, eel's blood in his cold toes, a bladder tristended so much so that young Master Shemmy, on his very first debauch, at the very dawn of proto-history, seeing himself such and such, when playing with thistle-words in their garden nursery, Griffo Tropheo, at Fig Street the Third shovelling old Holand. Would we go back there now for sounds, pillings and scents? Would we now for Annas and Annas? Would we full score 8 and a liretta? For 12 blocks 1 bob? For 4 testers 1 groat? Not for Adina, not for Joe. Dick tittered to all his little brethren and Swissterines the first riddle of the universe, asking, when is a man not a man? Telling them take their time, young frees, and wait till the tide stops, for from the first his day was a fortnight, and offering the prize of a bittersweet crab, a little present from the past. For their copper age was yet unminted to the winner. One said, when the heavens are Quakers. A second said, when Bohemian lips. A third said, when he, no. When hold hard a jiffy, when he is a Gnostic and determined to. The next one said, when the angel of death kicks the bucket of life. Still another said, when the wine's at wit's ends. Still another, when lovely woman stoops to conk him. One of the littlest said, me, Sem. When Papa papered the harbour. One of the wittiest said, when he ate ye a blowkuchen, and he smear herself so zuken. Still one said, when you are old I'm grey, fall full with sleep. And still another, when we dead a walked. Another, when he is just only after having been semi-sized. Another, when he hath no bananas. And one, when those pigs they begin now that they will flies up until the luft. All were wrong, so Shem himself, the dictator, took the cake, the correct solution being, I'll give it up, when he is yours till the rending of the rocks. Sham. Shem was a sham, and a low sham, and his lowness creeped out first via foodstuffs. So low was he that he preferred Gibson's tea-time salmon, tinned, as inexpensive as pleasing, to the plumpest roe-heavy lax, or the friskiest parr, or smoked trowlet that ever was gaffed between Leax's lips and Island Bridge, and many was the time he repeated in his botulism that no jungle-grown pineapple ever smacked like the whoppers he shook out of Ananias cans, find later and Gladstone's, corner house, England. None of your inch-thick blue-blooded balaclava fried at belief steaks, or juice jelly legs of the Grex's malted mutton, or greasily gristly grunters goopins, or slice upon slab of luscious goose bosom with lump after load of plump pudding stuffing, all a swim in the swamp of Borkery gravy for that Greek-hearted you'd. Rose biff of old Zealand. He could not touch it. See what happens when your somatophage merman takes his fancy to our vegetarian swan. He even ran away with himself and became a far soonerite, saying he would far sooner muddle through the hash of lentils in Europe than meddle with Ireland's split little pea. Once, when among those rebels in a state of hopelessly helpless intoxication, the piscivore strove to lift a six-round peel to either nostril, hiccuping, apparently impromptu by the hibat. He had with his glottal stop, that he cuckoo-cooed, flowerish for ever by the smell, as the citra, as the cedron, like a cedar of the founts on mountains, with Lebanon of Lebanon. Oh, the lowness of him was beneath all, up to that sunk too, no liked by like firewater, or first served, first shot, or gullet-burn gin, or honest brew-barrett beer either. Oh dear no, instead the tragic jester sobbed himself, way whingingly sick of life, on some sort of rhubarbarous, borderan, yellow-green, funkel-blue, windy-gut, dying applejack, squeezed from sour grapefruit, and to hear him twixt his sedimental cup-slips, when he had gulped down much too many gourds of it, retching off to almost as low with swillers, who always knew notwithstanding, when they had had enough, and were rightly indignant at the wretch's hospitality, when they found to their horror they could not carry another drop. It came straight from the noble white fat. Joe opened wide sat. Joe, her wide that. Joe, the wine vat of the most serene Magiansti as Archdiocese. If she is a duck, she's a douche. And when she has a fair boss, not her fault, now is it? Arsto chups. Funny you're grinning at. Fancy you're in her yet. Funny Urania. Ain't that swell, hey? P. Mengo? Talk about lowness. Any dog's quantity of it visibly oozed out thickly from this dirty little blacking beetle, for the very fourth snap The Tulloch Turnbull girl with a cold-blood Kodak shot at the as-yet unremunerated national apostate, who was cowardly gunned and camera-shy, taking what he wrongly thought of was a short-cut to Kaya Fair. Soak Americas via the ship's steam, Pride Win, after having buried a hatchet not so long before by the wrong goods exeunt. Numadesh to Tren into papaveries, fruiterers, and musical florists, with his Chahau Chavi Sachin Shilipen. She knew the vice out of a bride well was a bad fast man by his walk on the spot. John's is a different kind of butcher's. Next place you are uptown, pay him a visit, or better still, come to buy. You will enjoy cattlemen's spring meat. John's is now quite divorced from baking. Fattens, kills, flays, hangs, draws, quarters and pieces. Feel his lambs, X. Feel how sheep, XX. His liver too is great value, a speciality, XXX communicated. Around that time, moreover, one generally, for love of money, hoped, or at any rate suspected, among morticians that he would early turn out badly, develop hereditary pulmonary TB, and do for himself one dandy time. Nay, of a pelting night, blanketed creditors, hearing a coarse song and splash off Eden Key, sighed and rolled over, sure all was up. But though he fell heavily and locally into debit, not even then could such an antinomian be true to type. He would not put fire to his cerebrum. He would not throw himself in Liffey. He would not explode himself with pneumatics. He refused to suffocate himself with a sod, with the foreign devil's lead, the frayed bomb for diddled even death, and the cable but shaking the worth out of his mouth. God Acosta Leporello, Cesash Crash. From his near a publican asylum to his Jonathan for a brother, here to Kay, gone to Murray, where splooshed, do something fireless, and had answer, inconvenient, David. You see, chaps, it will trickle out freakishly, of course, but the tom and the shorty of it is, he was in his bardic memory low. All the time he kept on treasuring with condign satisfaction each and every crumb of trek talk, covetous of his neighbour's word, and if ever during a Monday conversation commoted in the nation's interest, delicate tippets were thrown out to him, touching his evil courses by some well-wishers, vainly pleading by scriptural arguments with the opprobrious papist about trying to brace up for the kidos of that thing, scallywag, and be a men instead of a dem scrounger, dish it all, such as, pray, what is the meaning, Southsea, of that continental expression, if you ever came across it? And we think it is a word conspicuously like can-I. Oh, did you anywhere, Kettle, on your gullible's travels, or during your rural troop adoring, happen to stumble upon a certain gay young nobleman, whimpering to the name of low swine, who always addresses women out of one corner of his mouth, lives on loans and is furtive free, years of age, without one sigh of haste like the supreme prig he was, and not a bit sorry, he would pull a vacant landlubber's face, root with earwaker's pensile, in the outer of his lousher, and then lisping the prattle-pate Parnella to kill time, and swatting his dead best to think what under the canopies of Jansen's crest would any decent son of an Albio gentleman who had been to him universally think. Letter lent, hit a hint, and begin to tell all the intelligentsia admitted to that Tamilese, Samtalese, Conglomerazione, since still and before physicians, lawyers, merchants, Belfry politicians, agricolas, manufacturers, sacristans of the pure river society, philanthropics, lodging on as many hordes around the panesthetic at the same time as possible, the whole lifelong swine story of his entire low, corn-eyed existence, abusing his deceased ancestors wherever the sods were, and one moment tower-booming great blunderguns, about his far-famed fine Popamore Mr. Hum-Hum, whom history, climate, and entertainment meant the first of his sept, and always up to date, though even's ears how many fancy faces, and another moment, vis and verses, crouching 3 jeers. Pah! For his rotten little ghost of a peppybeg, Mr. Himmy-Shimmy, a blighty, a reeky, a lighty, a scrapey, a babbly, a ninny, dirty seventh among thieves and always bottom sawyer, till no one knowed how me could be, giving unsolicited testimony on behalf of the absent, as glib as Eve's water to those present, who meanwhile, with increasing lack of interest in his semantics, allowed various subconscious smickers to drivel slowly across the filches, unconsciously explaining, for inkstands, with a meticulosity bordering on the insane, the various meanings of all the different foreign parts of speech. He misused and cuttle-fishing every lie, unshrinkable about all the other people in the story, leaving out, of course, foreconsciously, the simple warmth and plague and poison they had cornered him about, until there was not a snoozer among them but was utterly undeceived in the heel of the reel by the recital of the rigmarole. He went without saying that the cull disliked anything anyway, approaching a plain, straightforward stand-up or knock-down row, and as often as he was called in to umpire any octagonal argument among slang-wangers, the accomplished washout always used to rub shoulders with the last speaker and clasp shakers, the hand touch which is speech without words, and agree to every word as soon as half uttered. Command me, your servant good. I revere you. How, my seer, be drinking that? Quite truth gratius. I'm used. See what I'm hearing? Also goods pleased me sure. Be filling this. Quiso, you said it. A pasa fellow, muchas gracias. Is there firing on me? Is there garlic on you? To your good self, your sulphur, and then at once focus his whole unbalanced attention upon the next octagonist who managed to catch a listener's eye, asking him and imploring him out of his piteous one winker, Morticia Diaduminos, whether there was anything in the world he could do to please him and to overflow his tumble tantalizer for him, yet once more. One hail calend night, for his departure was attended by a heavy downpour, As very recently as some 1,000 reigns ago, he was therefore treated with what closely resembled personal violence, being sogged all unsuspectedly through the deserted village of Tumblin-on-the-Liffey from Mr. Van Homerig's house, 81, Bismabbit's Mall, as far as Green Patch beyond the brick fields of Salmon Pool, by rival teams of slow peers counter-quick-climbers, who finally, as rarely they had been detained out where the Latich thought business, they had better be streaking for home after their Oban to Oban, with thanks for the pleasant evening, one and all disgustedly, instead of rug-rearing back in a wake, reconciled though they were as jealous as could be, Cullions about all the truffles they had brought at him to a friendship, fast and furious, which might arose out of the Noxus pervert's perfect lowness. Again there was a hope that people, looking on him with the contempt of the contemplables, after first giving him a roll in the dirt, might pity and forgive him, if properly deloused. But the pleb was born a quick low, and sank a-lowing till he stank out of sight. All Saints beat Belial, Mickle goals to Nichil. Not possible. Already? If nowhere has yet the whole world taken part of himself for his wife, by nowhere have poor parents been sentenced to worms, blood and thunder for life. Not yet has the imp from Corsica forced the earth out of Angleterre. Not yet have the Saxon and Judah on the mount of a word made ware. Not yet witchy of wedge-struck fire, of his heath from on Hoath. Not yet is Arcobaline, forspoken peace upon oath. Cleft foot from Hempal, must tumble blameful, gardeners bound to fall. Broken eggs will poor sweeve bitten apples, for there's will there's a wall. But the mount still frowns on the millstream while their mansions leap his bier, and her rilstrel lifts to his mercusty all her daft daughter's laugh in her ear, till the foreshores of deaf Tory Island let the dews dumb earwigs thry. Herp for their misunderstandings, chirps the ballad of Persoray. O fortuous Casulitas! Lefty takes the cherub a cake, while rights cloves his tooth darkies never done tug, that goon out to play non-excretory anti-sexuous, misogenic, gassy pure flesh and blood games, written and composed and sung and danced by Nicemus Neomon, same as pickaninnies play all day. Those old none of your honeys and rubbers, games for fun and element we used to play with Dinah and old Joe kicking her behind and before, and the yellow girl kicking him behind old Joe. Games like Tom Tom, the Thunder Man, put the wind up the peeler, hat in the ring, prison your Pritchards and play with his team, Michael on the lucky pig, nickel in the slot, Sheila Harnett and her cow, Adam and Elle, Humble Bumble, Maggie's on the wall, twos and threes, American jump. Fox come out of your den, broken bottles, writing a letter to Punch. Tip-top is a sweet store. Henry Crump expolled. Postman's knock. Are we fairly represented? Solomon silent reading. Apple tree bare stone. I know a washerwoman. Hospitals as I was walking. There is ones. House in a dream colour. Oh, Battle of Waterloo. Colours. Eggs in the bush. Haberdasher. Wisher. Telling your dreams. What's the time? Nap ducking mammy. Last man standing. Helly baboon and the forky thieves. Flick lies and futile ears. Handmade but once in my life, and I'll never commit such a sin again. Zip Cooney's candy. Turkey in the straw. This is the way we sow the seed of a long and lusty morning. Hops of fun at Finnegans Wake. I see the toothbrush with Pat Farrell. Here's the fat to graze the priest's boots, when his steam was like a rain burnt around MacGarvey. Now it is notoriously known how, on that surprisingly bludgeony Unity Sunday, when the Grand Gurmagal All-Star bout was hourly the rage between our Wellingtons extraordinary and our petty six, the Marshallesian Irish eyes of welcome were smiling daggers down their backs, when the rough face and blouse met their noy blank and rogues, and the grim white and cold met the black fighting tans. Categorically unimperatived by the maxims, a rank funk getting the better of him, the scut in a bad fit of pyjamas fled like a leveret for his bare lives. To Talviland, Ahona Haza, pursued by the scented curses of all the village bells, and without having struck one blow, Pig stole on him was lust, he lagging it was because dust he shook. Cusky corked himself up tight in his ink battle house, badly the worse for Bruce Sagas, there to stay in afar for the life, where there was not a moment to be lost after he'd boxed around with his forte piano till he was whole. Back bump him and bump him blues, he collapsed carefully under the bed-tick from switches, his face enveloped into a dead warrior's telemac, with the lullabow somnobonum net and a water wattle at his feet to stoke his energy of waiting, moaning feebly in Monkbarrian monotheme, but turned long and then a nation louder, while engaged in swallowing from a large ampulla, that his tawdry purgatories was more than a nigger bloke could bear, hemi-paralyzed by the tongue warfare and all the shemuddle. Daily maily, full up lace, holy maily, muddle up joss, his cheeks and trousers changing colour every time a gat croaked. How is that for low laities and gentle nuns? Why, dog of the crusty guns, whole continents rang with this Koran lowness. Sheols of houris in chems upon divans, revolted stellas, vespertine vest among them, at a bear. Oh, mention of the scaly ribald, exclaimed Poissy.